I need a roll call of the Al Capones.
Back then, you had Big Odell, Odie's big brother. These are the real OGs of the neighborhood. You had Big Odell, you had Big Kurt, who was the leader of the Cafe Boys. I call it Cafe Boys with Al Capone.
So when we say Cafe Boys and Al Capone is interchangeable?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Okay.
You had Simba, you had Dikey. They were more around my age or a year or two older. You had Perry Manuel, like a year or two older. You had, there was a lot of them. And with a lot of, you had, Took would go up there sometime, but not a lot. You had Donald Archie. You had Larry Lilly. He would be up there. You had the Day-Coos, not the Day-Coos. It was another family that used to live straight across the street from Harsh Man, and Odell used to fight them. I can't think of their last name, but they could fight real good. So you had them.
Well, was Raymond Potts a Cafe Boy also?
Oh yeah, Raymond was a Cafe Boy.
So all these names you're saying, bro, are interchangeable in today with 8-trays and 60s now.
Oh yeah, because you gotta keep in mind.
This is the foundation right here.
Yeah, well, what you have to keep in mind, if you humble to the history of Crippin' and how neighborhoods evolve, and I don't gotta paint myself in as super Crip, because I wasn't super Crip. There were other guys that I, had, deep admiration for, respect of, in they gang banging, before there was even a seat put on shit. Like Odie, for me, when Odie came home and they said, "Hey, cutes, we want Odie to run the car." I said, "Bullshit, Odie." And then Odie said, "Come on, man. I'm not gonna be up there squabbling, arguing with Big Odie. He just came home from YA, wherever the fuck he been. I'm not gonna I'm already in a gang. I'm with my brothers in then. I'm a Magnificent Seven." So when Raymond Potts and Perry Manuel and them, we went off into Inglewood, and they said, "Come on, man." So I just said, "All right, fuck it." And then Odie took the car, and I hung with those guys every day. We continued to take shit.
I want to get into that, but I want to get into the relationships before all that comes into play. Erskine Mad Dog Jones, was he a Cafe Boy also?
Erskine Mad Dog, that's Moo from Hoover's relative.
So I'm getting him
and Ani.
I'm getting him mixed up with one of the Mad Dogs that ran with Donald Archie and them.
No, that's the one. That's Mad Dog Erskine.
And you're tying him into Moo from 107?
That's his relative.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know they relatives.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they full blood relatives.
So let me rewind a little bit. When did Tookie move on 69th Street?
In 1965, around the corner from where I live, he moved on 69th Street. See, Took was in gangs before he moved over there. Took used to fight Fauché and Audubon. Took went to Fauché, and Fauché would fight Audubon. See, as we were kids, all of the schools was fighting each other. And I'm talking about elementary schools to junior high schools. They all had rivals. So Audubon and Fauché, they didn't get along with each other. And there were different gangs at both schools, but these are schoolyard gangs. See, you got to understand a schoolyard gang. A schoolyard gang is a gang that's made up of the pupils that are attending that school. Now, they live all over those neighborhoods. They may come from the 50s, the 60s, the 80s, and maybe even further up as the hundreds. Basically, even back toward Inglewood. So what made the Horseman Crips show so unique and made the war that ended up happening so hard for a lot of people is that all of these guys were Horseman Crips, even Horseman Crips before their neighborhoods even started. If you're talking about how things evolved in the stuff.
But let's rewind a little bit. History always tells us, not always, but tells us that Tookie was a full-fledged member of the Al Capones. Was that true?
Well, I had Donald Archie, and I asked Donald Archie about that. And so Donald Archie was telling me, he was giving me like a yes and a no on that. Because at this particular time, Took was going to camp, and he was getting in a lot of trouble. So he really didn't get to hang out as much as the other kids got to hang out. But when Took would come on the scene, he would be mean. and he would demonstrate. That's how people would revere him, you know, and be around him at this time. He was a pretty tough kid, and he had just moved from 68th Street down to 83rd. See, when he started going to Harsh Man, his mother moved from where she lived with Fred, her husband, to her own home down on 83rd, and Took and them stayed in the back house with his sister Janet and his mother. So they lived back there. So that's when Took met up with Mad Dog, Big Bob. He met those kids, and being that those kids would sometimes fight the kids that would hang out at the cafe, because they had bickering going on back and forth. You guys heard Pookie describe one of the incidents. Well, I dug a little deeper in that history, and that girl that the big fight was over was a girl that Mouse ended up having a baby by, and she was a nice looking girl, but then Dikey's brother started going with the same girl, and that's what happened, you know, with Dikey's brother. And Dikey was there too, because Dikey started cripping 6 months before me.
Did Tookie run with that circle of cafe boys though? The Odells, the Raymond Potts, were these his friends?
Yeah, they all knew each other. They would all see each other at lunchtime. But after the bickering, then they didn't really like each other as much.
Let me ask you this. There was a point in time where your neighborhood was not a Crip neighborhood. When did it become a Crip neighborhood, and by who? Who was the one that brought that Crip influence into your neighborhood?
Stanley Tookie Williams and a brother named Gary Lane.
You give it to Tookie?
Yeah, Tookie and Gary Lane.
So before Tookie, there was no Crips on the 60 streets?
No, there were Brims down there. There were Brims on 69. There were Brims on 67. There were Brims across Normandy. The Brims were getting big. There were Brims on 74th off of Western. There were Brims on Florence and Butlong. So the Brims was trying to move in. They had moved in, you know. And then when Took brought Crippin over there in 1970, that's when the Brims started moving out.
Give it 70 or 71?
70.
Really?
I know definitely a 70. And the reason why I know it's definitely 70, and Donald Archie validated it, because when Took and Mouse had their fight, it was in like 70 or 69. And then when Donald Archie and Mouse got into it over the radio up in Washington, that was 1970.
Was Mouse a Crip at that time?
No, we were sevens. We became sevens after. We were sevens when we went up there. Mouse became a Magnificent Seven when we were going to fight the Capones.
Give us the origins of Magnificent Seven. When did it start? Why? The whole shebang.
We started the Magnificent Seven because Took and Mouse got into an argument. And it was over, it wasn't over a girl. It was over, I want to say it was over sports. I want to say it was over sports. That's how it started. And I want to say it started maybe over a hard foul, like that. And Took was acting kind of disrespectful. And Mouse wasn't having it. And then they ended up getting into it. Fred came out and broke them up.
Fred who?
Took's stepfather, that was the boxer. Said, you boys ain't gonna be out here fighting. You wanna fight, you put the boxing gloves on. Ain't gonna be doing no bare knuckle fighting out here. We're not savages. I remember that much. And then after that, Took and Mouse didn't like each other for about a year. And then, so when Mouse came back around the corner and he said, we're gonna get our own gang. And then I was mad too, because I want to go fight now. I want to go back around the corner and fight with Took and them. I'm telling Mouse, come on, let's go back around. Come on, let's go back around here. Because I want to beat up Wayne. I want to fight Wayne. That's his little brother. And I said, I'm going to fight him like that. And then Mouse said, all right, go fight him. So I went around the corner to fight Wayne, and Wayne wouldn't come out. So, but Took came out. And he said, cute. I said, where's Wayne? He said, you better go. Like that. And I said, you tell Wayne that I came around here. Like that. So I left and I went back. So I said, what happened? I said, he wouldn't let Wayne come out. So a few days went by, I run into Wayne up at the store, and then I said, yeah, man, I heard your brother fight my brother, man. That ain't shit. So I push Wayne, right? Wayne pushed me back. So me and Wayne gets to fight. Bing, 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 bing. So the dude who owns the hamburger stand come out and break us up from fighting. So then we go our way. We go our separate ways like that. We don't want the word to get back. So I tell Mouse I ain't up fighting Wayne, he ain't up fighting Took. So we want to start our own gang. So
for clarification, Tookie and them are not Crips yet?
No, there ain't no such thing as Crips.
So Magnificent Seven starts up before West Side Crips is forming?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It's forming when everybody's being gangster and thug like Odie and them up at the cafe. It's forming out of that.
So all this is happening around the same time?
Yeah. The Dinker Boys, they younger guys. They not Crips either. They forming. See, all of these gangs is forming right around that area at the same time. See, we all forming at we kids, but we tough kids. We kids that hang out with big kids. We kids that ditch and go up to schools and hang out there. We kids that put burglaries. We kids that'll go and jump another kid. We kids that'll cuss the teacher out. You know, kids that'll steal. You know, we becoming hard and angry, you know, and we don't know why. We don't know where it's coming from. Maybe it's coming from the relationships our parents was in. Maybe it's coming from the lead paint that was in our house. We don't know, but we becoming mean. You know, maybe it's becoming what we seeing on the news with the kids getting killed in Vietnam. We don't know. Maybe it's coming out of the Black Power movement. Maybe it's coming from seeing the Watts riot on TV. Maybe it's coming from watching Martin Luther King getting shot down the street with a fire hose. But we watching all of this shit, you know, through black and white TVs, and it's affecting us. And we don't know what direction to send this anger. So we turn it a lot of times in on ourselves.
So look, now, Tookie and Mouse are not getting along, but
and they still going to school together now.
At some point in time, the Magnificent Sevens turn into Crips. Explain that, being that you guys are not getting along with Tookie.
This is what happened. So I'm not acting like a kid. I'm walking around mad. I'm experimenting with alcohol. So one day, me and my little brother Rusty, we was in front of the house, and I heard this loud ass boom. And I said, man, what the fuck is that? So Rusty said it's probably an M80. You know, they come from Tijuana, them big ass dynamite stick firecrackers. And I said, that ain't no damn M80. I said, that's a shotgun blast. And so we heard it again, you know, a couple days later. So we went looking for it. We could hear where it came from. So we wound up on Western, in that alley that faces our side. There's alleys on both sides of Western. But the alley on the side that Harvard would be the first street if you come back east. So we go down the alley, and this dude is in the alley. So I said, hey man, we heard a shotgun blast. And then the dude's just looking at us. This dude turned out to be Gary Lane. So he's a cool looking kid, right? So I'm looking at him, he's around Mouse's age. So I'm looking at this kid, and I'm looking at him, so I'm like, so he looks at me, he checks me and Rusty out. So because he never seen us before, I never seen him before. So he's kind of like just looking at us weird, and we looking at him. And then I said, yeah, I heard a big ass loud noise, a shotgun blast. Or Rusty said, yeah, it could have been an M80 like that. And then Gary just nodded his head and looked at us, just doing this, right? So then we hear it again on another day, so we go down there. So Gary, he comes out, and we end up getting into it with Gary, you know, in like an argument or something, because he shows us the shotgun. He calls us over, you know, and he brings it out. And I says, oh, fuck, you know, like that. He lets me hold the shotgun, all of this shit. But before that, he asks us about, you know, who are we? And, you know, I'm letting him know that we had just had a conflict not too long ago. He asked me, why do I want a gun? That's what he asks me, why do I want a gun? And I tell him that, well, I wouldn't mind having a gun, you know, for my gang. And then he's looking at these little niggas, you know. He's like, it's crazy. You know, Gary's a bigger kid. We still like at 6th grade shit. So he says, all right, who's your rival? And I says, the Al Capones. And he says, you little motherfuckers better get away from me. Like that, right? And then I told Rusty, I said, man, you should have never told me to talk to that dude, basically. You know, like that, right? So I end up getting the gun from Gary. We come back around there again on another occasion. So Gary wants to sell the gun. I say, well, let me have it. Let me have it. And then Gary says, Gary's liking me and Rusty, and I'm not knowing it because we down. So he's feeling us. He feels he could train us. You know what I'm saying? He's seeing the downness in us. So he's saying, nah, I'm not going to give it to you. And I says, okay, I'll give you some money for it. And so I gave him a few bucks for the gun. And he gives it to me, a little kid. He gives me the gun. So I got the gauge, and he gave me some shells, and he showed me this area where he would test it in the alley, and you could just see where it chewed through this garage like termites. And I was like, fuck. He says, now, have you ever shot it? I says, nah. He says, well, come back around here tonight, bring it, and I'm going to show you how to fire it up and bring some more shells and have some money to buy some shells. So I gave him the money. He brought me a box of shells at the Western Surplus, but he ended up getting me birdshot. He didn't give me the real shit. You know, the double-eyed buck. That's what I wanted. I want double-eyed buck. So Gary ended up getting me birdshot and shit. So I ended up doing that. So Gary said, he said, well, what's your gang's name, Cutes? And I said, we haven't given it a name yet. He said, well, who's all in the gang? I said, right now it's me, Mouse, Rusty, my cousins, Chucky Madison. I said, that's about it right now. He says, okay. And so then he tried to take credit for claiming he named it, the Magnificent Seven. But it was between him and Mouse who gave it the name, you know, so.
You know what year this was?
Yeah, this had to be in the 70s too. Yeah, had to be around in the 70s. 1970. Couldn't have been no later than 1970. Had to be in the 70s.
I'm trying to lead.
Yeah, it had to definitely be in the 70s.
I'm trying
1970.
I'm trying to lead into what made y'all turn into Crips? What made y'all go that route?
Oh, well, what happened is that we Magnificent Sevens. Now, everything is going good. Before we become Crips, we don't want to get into it with Took and them no more. Took is cool. Mouse and Took's back cool. Took's coming over to pad again. Everything's cool. Me and Wayne's friends again, Lil Took. So our families are all cool again.
So at this time, you guys are cool. Where's Tookie from at this time?
He's going to Washington now, so he's a smack.
You throw Tookie into the smack group?
Yeah, Took was a smack.
Sure?
I'm positive.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so they all smack because the Al Capone name died out. So they ain't no more Al Capone name. It's just the smacks.
So the Al Capones die out. What happens to Odie and all these dudes that's claiming Al Capone? Where do they?
Oh, they all go back. The reason it dies out is because they end up either going to camp or to YA or out of town. That's why. And then they all graduated from a Harsh Man, so they all gone. Now Harsh Man is fixing to get, you know, a new generation of thugs. They fixing to get me. You know, they fixing to get Rayford. You know, they fixing to get Big Rick. They fixing to get, you know, the group of kids who, you know, started gangbanging, basically.
So at this time, the cafes played out, Al Capone's played out. So now we just got the smacks and Magnificent Seven. Yeah,
and then this is what happened. So we was all over Chucky's house. It was in the summer, and Mouse said, let's go up to Washington. It's summer school. He said, let's go up to Washington and talk to some of the young ladies, man. I said, okay, I'm down. So we all get on the Western bus, and we go to Washington. We get off on 108. We mob down 108, and we get on the side of the school where all the cool kids is over there. So all the Crips is over there. So Sweetback's over there, Bub's over there, Mad Dog Erskine's over there. Tookie's up in the classroom going to summer school. So we all get over there. So Donald Archie asked us what set we from. He said, what set y'all from? I said, we Magnificent Seven. You know, I tell him. I said, we Magnificent Seven. He said, all right. So I said, where's Tookie at? And he said, Tookie's up in the class. And then he says, I said, I don't gotta talk to you. I go talk to the leader. I'm a little kid, I'm mannish. I said, I don't gotta talk to you. I can talk to the leader. Because I know Stanley's the leader in my mind, you know, so. And I don't like the way they acting outside, because they real deep. And they trying to make us punk. You know, they trying to make us, you know, buckle, but we not. We got our hats on, we got our boom box, and we standing firm. And it's a lot of them. I feel a little nervous, but I'm not feeling the point that they're gonna beat us down, you know, maybe a couple fights or something. So then I go up there to get Took, so he could come out and tell these dudes who we are, because he already know who we are. So I bum up in the class and shit, Took's in there. The girls get to fucking with me. I'm trying to be serious and shit. Took tell me to leave, you know, he's in class. So I get a little upset at him. So I go back outside. When I go outside, you know, they had Mouse's radio. They had pushed up on him deep, you know, and got the box. So I pushed the dude away from my brother. It was Blackburn. His name was Blackburn. So I pushed Blackburn in the back. I said, get away from my brother. Like that, and I shoved Blackburn. Now all of them were trying to surround me. And then Mouse and Chucky said, come on, man, let's go. And I says, man, Big Al got to get out, man. Fuck this shit. So we all walk to the Normandy bus stop. We get on the Normandy bus. We go to my house on 68. A couple months go by. Big Al comes home from the joint after doing like 4 years. And my grandmother and my other cousin, they had sent word to Al that we had got roughed up. And so when Al gets out, he want to go deal with it. He said, what happened? And then I said, well, the dude got Mouse's radio. We ought to go back over there and get it. Because Al didn't know he was going to get in some shit that day when he had came over. And Mouse and they were all in the front yard. And Al was out there on swole. And I wasn't acting like I was happy to see him. Because I was mad that he went away to prison and left me. I was kind of mad at him. You know how kids could act when their father go away, and when he comes home, they act like they don't want to talk to him because they really hurt. That's how I was acting toward my uncle. So I know my uncle got out, and I know he's coming over, so I could see he's over. So now I'm acting like it ain't no big deal, but I'm really happy, but I'm mad because he left me for 4 years. So when I get over there, I says, Al says, what's up, little cute, you got big? And then I said, and I wasn't acting like I'm happy, you know. So I said, man, we ought to go and get Mouse's radio back. And then he said, who got Mouse's radio? And I said, this dude over here. And then we all got in Al's car. Al had a Skylark 67. We got in a Skylark. We pushing up St. Andrews. Then we cross Western. We get on a Hardale. We push up Hardale. Boom. We turn down the street. All these kids is outside. I say, hey, man, where does Sweetback live? Oh, he live over there. So we bank up over in there. I got a golf club. Al's ready to fight. Mouse want to fight. We all want to fight. Chucky want to fight. So we're going to fight all of these dudes. Fuck it. And then we knock on the door with the golf club. Pow, pow, pow. Dono answers the door. And then he said, what's up? Then he says, we want my brother's box. And then my uncle said, yeah, we want my nephew's box. I ain't got his box. I said, you're a motherfucking lie. You got his box like that. And then the mother hears that. And then she says, go in there and get that kid's radio. You better go in there and get that radio. You know, so his mother bring the radio out, give it to Mouse. And then Donald says, hey, why don't y'all come up to the park? You know, which is St. Andrews Park. So I said, come on, let's go up to the park. And then my uncle said, no, hold down. He says, we'll go up to the park. He says, we'll come to the park. We're not turning your invitation down to come up to the park, but we'll go up to the park on our terms. And we'll go up to the park on another day. He say, nephews, let's go. So we all mob down the steps, get in the Skylark, bank up. So I'm waiting for my uncle to bring all of these dudes from the farmers over, because I know he's going to mob over with a caravan, and we'll go up to the park and have a real gang fight, which I was thirsty for. And then, so I'm like, one day little Took comes over and he says, hey man, what's up, cutes? I says, it ain't shit, man. We got Mouse's radio back. And he says, I heard. And he says, let's go up to the park. I says, all right, fuck it, let's go up to the park. So he says, Raymond Washington's up at the park. I says, oh, I want to see him. So me and little Took, we mob up to the park. We get up there. Raymond's over here by the ping pong table. Took's over there playing basketball. And big ass Donald Archie steps over here and he says, what you doing up here? And like this. And then little Took said, well, we don't got to answer to you. We don't got to talk to you. Like that. And then I looked at him and I said, I'm gonna be a Crip anyway. Like that. I'm gonna get recruited. That's what I tell him. So Raymond hears us. He starts laughing. He says, we ain't doing no recruiting today. Like that. And then little Took said, that's Raymond Washington right there, Keats. And then I didn't say nothing. I don't want to get mannish around him. So I just kind of shut it down a little, because I already know he don't know my uncle. Raymond don't know I got a badass uncle, but Donald Archie does, so he knows how far to push up on me and shit.
So look, Cute. I wanna kind of like get when you guys turn Crip, right? The Magnificent Seven. And I want to come back to the neighborhood, and I kind of want to expand on how that neighborhood started spreading as far as Crips is concerned.
Yeah.
Right. So now we got Cutes living on 68th.
Yeah.
We got Tookie living on 69th.
Yeah.
We got Raymond Potts living on 65th in Normandy.
Yeah.
And then we got the Shaws living on
66
in Western.
Yeah.
So, kind of explain the expansions of the Crips in the 60 streets before the sets and all that. Kind of like break down how that spread it.
Well, this is how I spread it. Once we got recruited into the Crips, my family, the Dinker Crips, the Dinker Boys were already established. That was already a gang.
So you had Magnificent Seven and Dinker Boys in the same neighborhood?
Yeah.
Who were these Dinker Boys?
T-Bone, Raymond Potts, Glenn, who later became Loose Booty from a shooting at the park. There was a lot of them. It was a dude named Bootsy. It was I can't think of all of their names, but
it sounds like the Al Capones turned into Dinker Boys.
No, well, some of them was influenced. Their thug came from that because they went to Harsh Man at the time. That was going on. And they were around hustling too.
Or at least some of the Cafe Boys turned into Dinker Boys.
Yeah, some of the Capones. Yeah, turned into Dinker Boys. Yeah.
What's the story behind them evolving into Crips? Who was behind that? Who was behind making these guys turn Crips?
I put Crip on them because once I became a Crip, then Raymond Potts had wrote on the wall, because I had a gauge and I was blasting. So Raymond Potts wrote on the wall, Shotgun QT. And I didn't know who that was. And I said, well, who's that motherfucker? And they said, that's you. And I said, oh, that's a cool name. I like that name. Who gave me that name? They said, Raymond Potts gave you that name. I said, all right, that's cool. Like that. So Raymond Potts and them, they wanted me, to be a part of that. And I said, all right, I'm cool with that. So I'm a made Crip. They haven't been recruited into being no Crip. So. Mouse was a Crip too. Mouse came up to the park after I came home. After I came home from the park, I said, Al and them don't gotta come and go to the park and fight nobody. And then Mouse said, how come? And I said, well, because I already been up to the park. And Mouse wanted to beat me up. He said, what do you mean you've been up to the park? I said, well, I went up to the park. You went up to the park by yourself? I said, no, I went with Wayne. And he collared me. And then I said, what are you doing? And then he said, they could have fucked you up. And then I said, nah, man, they cool. I said, I met Raymond Washington and Donald Archie, all them dudes. They ain't tripping that shit. They're not tripping nothing no more. I told them I was going to be a Crip. And then I said, you told me you're going to be a Crip? I said, yeah. And I said, so we all ought to bank up to the park. They're going to have a meeting next Saturday. We all ought to bank up there. And Ma said, all right. we'll go up there. So Mouse and Took's already talking again. So he calls Took and tells him, he says, yeah, because they don't got no cell phones and shit. He said, hey, Took, we're gonna come to the park Saturday, and we're gonna get initiated into the set. And Took said it was about time.
Parole, now I'm back in my city with heart. But I'm older now and see most of the homies is gone.